Hello, hello, and welcome to the Twilight Live Show for the Nostalgia Train Book Club. I am your host, Violet of the channel, Writing Violet. Yes, I'm joined today by three lovely co-hosts. Two of our co-hosts were not able to be on screen today, but we'll still have Katie and Wallace watching in the chat, I think. So it's just been one of those days, I think, for everybody. Usually I like to just start out by where we introduce ourselves and say our first experiences with the book. So Twilight came out in 2005. So I was actually in high school in 2005. I was like the perfect age. But I didn't read it until like a year or two later. And I told this story on my channel that I kind of got bullied into reading it by the girls in my color guard who were like, spoilers are going to happen. So you better read it now or be spoiled. And I actually ended up getting a copy of Twilight from my mom, who got it from another mom friend of hers, who's like, you have to read this book. I don't know if my mom actually read it or not, but I knew that like my color girl said, hey, you have to read this. And I knew there was already a copy at my house. So that's like my story with Twilight. And I fell in love with it and I was obsessed. And yeah. So Crystal, would you like to start off with the introductions in your history with Twilight?
Sure. I'm Crystal. My channel is Crystal's Cluster, where I make a clusterfuck of content, ranging from gaming, D&D stuff, and writing stuff. I'm working on my paranormal action fantasy thing right now. It's in beta. And my experience with Twilight was in high school when it came out, because a friend of mine was like, you like vampires here. So I started reading it, and I've showed this before, but apparently high school me really liked it because this bitch is not in good shape.
Wait, I have to go get mine.
It's a thing.
Oof.
So yeah, that was my first experience. I read all of them. I have all of them, watched all the movies and all the things.
So you liked it the first time around?
Yes, I did. There was a couple things that I kind of eyebrow raised since I am a vampire writer. And I'm like, you can kind of get away with not calling them vampires, but we can get into that later.
Okay, we'll get there. We'll get there.
But,
Nikki? Oh, you're not done. Sorry.
No, that was me. I'm like, but yeah, it was literally me finishing my sentence like I always do.
Hello. Okay, I didn't know if we were going in a circle. I'm Nikki. My channel is Nikki Klimmer. I write and paint and vlog that. I was first introduced to Twilight when I was at an alternative school because I wasn't allowed to be in high school anymore. And the teacher there read it to us in our free time. That's all.
Okay, that's an interesting story. Okay, I like it.
All right.
I enjoyed it. It was
Were
good.
you all like sitting in a circle like in class?
We were in individual like cubicles. We weren't allowed to talk to each other. It was a bad people's school, y'all. It was like I was in trouble. She was not supposed to be reading that to us.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
I like that story.
that's funny.
It was awesome.
I wasn't a bad kid. I did a bad thing, but it wasn't a bad thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Anna Robbins. I have a YouTube channel where I occasionally make videos now and then about writing my first book. And I first read Twilight, I think, like shortly after it came out. First paperback edition in like 6. I was in 7th grade, so I was really like probably 12 or 13, like super impressionable, like in the group of like tween girls that are getting so obsessed with it. So yeah, just completely fell in love with it, and I think I read it all in one sitting. I stayed up until 4 a.m. reading it.
Damn.
Wow. Okay, so
Um,
you were a little bit younger when you first read it, which I think it
I
brings a
was.
cool dynamic because I was, in high school. I probably would have been like 17 when I first read it.
Yeah, so like I'm sure we're gonna get into it, but like all of the like Edward dynamics just went completely over my head. Like no suspicious eyes for me. I was just like head glued to book. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely would like to discuss this. Before I say hello to the chat, I have one more question for you guys. Did you guys, any of you, read Midnight Sun?
yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we're half and half because I was saying to Crystal before we went live, a lot of my sort of issues could I feel like been answered in Midnight Sun, or some of my speculations. I'm sometimes giving
Mhm.
Edward the benefit of the doubt or otherwise.
Yeah.
So okay. So let's see. Oh my goodness. Who is here with us? Michael is here. Em is here. Wallace is here with us, even if she couldn't be on screen, as well as Katie and Stieg. Casey. Choo choo.
The intro was really cute.
Wallace, we all know you're a Twilight expert.
I
Somebody's
don't know
gonna
if
make
you
a
guys
gif out
even
of
got
it.
to see how beat and cracked
Yep.
this sign is. Like she's gonna fall in half pretty soon.
Beautiful. Love a well-read book.
Yeah.
Yeah, Anna's killing it.
Thank you.
In her arms. Ah!
So adorable.
You guys are crazy. Nikki giving off delinquent vibes.
Maybe a little.
Okay, well, let's saying I read Twilight for the first time. Whoa, she knows the exact day.
Wow.
December 20th, 2006. I used to celebrate the anniversary. I was homesick from school, and my sister left her copy at the house.
But why is that so precious?
That is
Gosh.
Oh, I love it.
Glad you could make it. That boy deserves no benefit of the doubt.
Valid.
Okay, so I don't know. Like I said, I haven't read Midnight Sun, so I definitely have feelings about the romance in this book. Oh, okay, Nikki, thank you for clarifying.
I love that.
Yeah. Midnight Sun was a drag.
I read Twilight. Oh, this is Steeg saying. I should probably say that out loud. I read Twilight after a 6-year reading hiatus because teenage Steeg was too cool to read. That tracks. And that was my gateway to other books like The Hunger Games and Beautiful Creatures. Yeah, some were better than others. I do think Twilight was one of those books that was a book that got people into reading. And
Yeah. I had so many friends that were like, I'm not a reader. And I was the reader in my friend group. So I was like, I never had anyone to talk to about books. And then they read Twilight, and then all of a sudden they became readers and they realized books can be fun. So I think a lot of people have that same experience.
yeah, it's definitely, I think, of all the books we covered, probably like the most phenomenon, that like cultural touchstone.
Oh yeah.
Where, like I
Especially-
said, like my mom got me into it, and like everybody at school talking about it, and
Yep. Well, it was like every teenager read Hunger Games. Everyone and their mom read Twilight.
yeah. But again, now after reading this as an adult, I'm judging all Twilight moms. Like,
Yeah. As an adult,
judging
it
you
reads
hard.
very different.
It's really different as an adult. Okay, noted. Let's pop up our handy dandy spoilers banner, because from here on out we will be discussing spoilers for the first book, Twilight. We will try to avoid spoilers for the rest of the series, Midnight Sun, and all that jazz. So
This is our color guard moment. We're coming to you saying you need to read it or you're going to get spoiled eventually.
yeah, that's I could never be too serious on these discussions. I even read the entire series. Never stand the movies though. Oh, yeah. I did not plan like the movie as a discussion topic just because I thought it's probably going to come up here and there naturally.
Yeah.
Mm. Oh, you read Dracula because of Twilight.
That's cool.
Wait. Hudson is saying, I also remember receiving my message just about how I needed to read it.
Oh God, that's a throwback.
Oh, it is. I love it.
I
There
was
are so many throwbacks
She's a
in
little bit
here.
older now, Twilight. 2005. It was a minute ago.
earlier when I was reading the scene, because I finished it today. I was reading the scene where James is filming Bella in their little scene thing, and I was like, what is he doing? Vlogging it for YouTube? And then I was like, wait, this was 2005. There was none of this. It was MySpace, and we were all just filling out cute little answer things.
It definitely is dated in parts, like how many times they reference CDs.
Yeah. Or like dial-up internet, which I had growing up.
Yep.
Just waiting for it to
What
load.
were you
so she could
doing?
Google
Listening
something.
to CDs in my car.
Yeah. It was a super Gilmore Girls moment whenever she's having to wait for the dial-up and she goes and makes a sandwich. Like,
Yes.
Or even just the like logistics of her dad being like, you have to wait for Jessica to get home before you call her. She's not home.
Yeah.
Because no one had a fucking cell phone.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, it is funny. Wait, I want to get to the discussion topics, but comments keep coming in. Okay. Read Twilight after the first movie came out. Definitely what got me into reading. And like Stieg, it was a gateway to other books. Oh, we have a lurking Danny. Nothing to contribute, just lurking.
That is fair.
Hey, Lexi. Sims Queen.
Saw that coming.
Sims size Queen. Can definitely see the issues with it, but it will always be a book that got me back into the idea of reading. Yeah. I think I skipped a bunch of comments. I didn't mean to. I just didn't see them. Not me lurking on the stream, never having read Twilight. What?
That's fair and totally valid.
It's not valid. I read a book for the Pages and Paladins Tome Trio book club this month.
Okay, for that reason, I feel like that's fair.
Do you think I wanted to read? What did I read? A Court of Thorns and Roses? Okay, I kind of did. I was kind of curious. I remember picking it up from the school library. Ooh, this is also interesting because I did read that it got banned from some school libraries.
What?
Yeah. First me, then my sister. I think we both finished at least the first book in a couple days. Okay, that makes sense why you said we. I was confused by the use of the plural later. Yeah, my school definitely did not have this in the library, but again, it was so new when I was in high school.
I acted all surprised, but I totally live in the state that was just burning Twilight books.
God.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Okay, the first discussion topic I wanted to just kind of get out of the way because it's kind of a heavy one is talking about the controversy of the use of the Quileute tribe in this series, because I did not know when I read this book that this was a real tribe. Like, I thought this was a fictional tribe, and like finding out years later that it's not. I was like, you can't just make up that a tribe is werewolves. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, it was really cringe reading it back this time, and I just listened to that podcast, the Big Hit Show, where they did like 4 episodes on Twilight, and one of them covered this, and they're like, yeah, we are real people who never saw a cent of compensation for contributing in such a big way.
Like, you would have thought that, like, logically you use an entire section because you know the town got Twilight money. Like, they became a tourist attraction.
Yes.
So the fact that the other half of the Twilight group didn't get bullshit pissed me off. Oh, I was so mad.
Yeah,
I didn't question it at all when I read it as like a young person, because like in my community or like in my high school, like there's like a big indigenous population. So like I thought it was totally normal, like, you know, the representation in the book, but I thought it was fictional, like the fact that they were werewolves and had this lore. I had no idea that she used a real tribe.
Yeah, I didn't know
It's
until I was
crazy.
an adult.
Yeah.
As a writer, to have the audacity to do that, like even I thought Forks was a made up town. I didn't know Forks was
Yeah.
real. Like, I would never like pick a random small town that I've never been to and set my
Yeah.
story there. Like,
Yeah. You
who
could
does
literally
that?
use the town, but just name it something else, you know?
Yeah. Name it something else. Spoons.
Yeah, but I agree. Like as a writer, like imagine just picking a tribe from Google Maps and being like, yeah, okay, let me go look up their, you know, history and mythology and just completely twist it. Like,
So gross.
Really, really cringe. I thought we should bring it up and talk about it. I didn't want to pretend like it's not a thing and just jump in and like love on Twilight or hate on Twilight. It deserves to be talked about. I've looked into some of the stuff a little bit about like what the tribe has said and things like that, but I haven't gotten fully deep dive into it either, just because I just wasn't aware that they were a real group of people.
There's
recently.
also a mission to secure the future of the tribe by moving them to a higher ground because they're currently crumbling into the ocean, I think is what's happening to the land there. And they have a website, mthg.org, where people can donate if they're able to.
Man.
Yeah, I wanted to post a link, but shoot, I forgot. Who do I have with a wrench here? Michael and Stieg. I don't trust either of them.
I mean, if you want, you can. You could just give me the link, but that would defeat the purpose.
Wait.
I would really hope that like nowadays with everything that YA has gone through, like first of all becoming its own genre and B going through the own voices evolution,
Yes,
that this wouldn't happen if Twilight were published today. I hope that a writer wouldn't just completely lift things like that.
Yeah, I feel like today that this wouldn't fly, like even past like beta readers would be like, what the hell are you doing?
I like that sensitivity reader. My God.
I mean, she does plan to continue the world.
Mm-hmm.
Her next book to come out is supposed to be a Renesmee and Jacob.
Oh no! Oh my God! Okay. Oh my
What?
God.
Yeah. So I wouldn't put it past her today in 2022.
Put a pin in this comment. I think we should return to it.
Yes.
And Stieg saying finding out Taylor Lautner was not native.
He's Italian. And it was shocking. Like me and my husband almost had a little fight about it.
Wow.
Like this would not fly today at all. And it's like,
and I specifically remember them marketing him as indigenous.
Yeah, I remember that too. I'm just finding this out now.
Yeah, and like the Twilight series hires indigenous people and like stuff like that. Like,
because I think some of the side people in the tribe were, because there was a lot of wolves that were just there for like.
There's so much, like him being the focus. So much focus on him being indigenous specifically.
That's gross.
And we don't. Lautner isn't how you pronounce his name. It's like Leutner or something completely different. He said it on whatever show he was on the other day or week. I don't know what time is.
Yeah.
It's like an emphasis on I don't even know the L-E-U part of his name.
Oh, Lexi says, I have a friend from the Quileute tribe, and like people have asked her if they're really werewolves. Like,
no.
Oh, honey, no. Brain melt. That's just makes me sad.
Yeah, it's just really not okay to do this.
No.
So I just didn't want to not bring this up. I know the wolves aren't a huge part of book one, but they are a huge part of the series, and it's
it's because of Bella's conversation with Jacob that starts her down the path of, well, if this story is like a legend, are there legends about other people? And then she kind of gets Googled towards vampire.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
the lore that tells her what they are. That is what the foundation of the lore in the book is the tribe's story that isn't even real.
Shame. Wait, while I was saying, oh my god, me picking random small towns because I like their names.
It's like recently like this, I just make up my own, and I'm just generally kind of talk about where what's in this area, but it's not based on anything because I don't want to fuck it up and hurt people, and
Yeah, I feel that. Like, I know I made up a small town for my current work in progress, and I made up the name of the town. Then I Googled to see if that town existed anywhere in any state. It didn't. There was like a state park or a park somewhere that had the same name, and a street in a completely different state that had the same name. So I was like, okay, I can make a town using this name. It's going to just say a vague sort of location where it is. Nothing more needed. Hearts, yeah. I think we should jump on to maybe a lighter topic. I know, Crystal, you've been chomping at the bit to jump in on Bella, and I think it's a good place to start. Do we think this is a good place to start?
Yeah, I do.
Because Isabella Swan, as a character, has gotten a lot of criticism. I feel like she's almost started the trend of the kind of not like other girls character. And I know a lot of people say like she's a bad role model, she's very bland, she doesn't have a personality. I don't 100% disagree with all of that, but she definitely has not like other girl energy as well. So
I have a whole entire page of notes where it's basically me going, Bella is either bland as fuck, has no personality, and what personality she does have is martyr syndrome because she's doing this because it's the best idea, but instead of trying to focus on the life, she's like, okay, well, I guess I'm stuck here, but I guess I'm stuck here, so I'm gonna hate on everything, even things I like, because I have to hate everything because I'm supposed to be miserable. That bothers me on so many levels, and I do have sacrifice everything for my friend syndrome, and I'm more high functioning than that. Bothers me. Sorry.
You said you've not read Midnight Sun?
No.
Don't read it.
Oh God, tell me it's not worse.
It's just don't read it.
Okay. I kind of want to know why now.
Oh no. Oh, I dropped a link with all the books in the Discord and it's there. So
I mean, I'm probably not going to read it, but I'm curious as to why I shouldn't read it.
Yeah, I think hopefully I'm on the same page as you, Nikki, where in Midnight Sun it felt like Stephenie was retroactively applying some more character to Bella than I think is present in this book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Edward is like that description to a T.
Yeah.
Self-loathing, no chance of happiness.
Oh yeah, I hated Midnight Sun. I'm getting off topic.
Sorry.
Bella as a character.
Bella as a character. I think from a writer's perspective, the issue that I take with Bella this reread around is that in the first third of the book, she doesn't want anything. And so what is she doing? And what does her, having a romance arc also help her accomplish?
Yeah.
What is the further goal? So it's like when she goes down this path, you're like, what is she throwing away? But she just doesn't want anything until she meets Edward.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. The beginning felt really weak on the reread. In the past, I've reread Twilight several times in my life, and I've always just fallen into the nostalgia of the beginning.
Yeah.
And this was the first time I'm reading it. If I was to pick this up today to read it as a beta reader, I'd be like, this beginning needs to be reworked completely.
Yeah.
Have it start over.
Yeah.
Start over, yeah. Start over.
I was 147 pages in until I was interested this time around.
Yeah. I have a theory that kind of was striking me as I was rereading it. And I was like, there is so much mundane shit in this book And I think that like makes it very nostalgic because it reminds us of when we were in school and our routine was so routine and we did the same thing every day. But like we're getting descriptions of everything that she eats, everything that she wears, doing her chores, doing her homework. And it's like, then when Edward is on the page, you're like, whoa, the mundanity, a break in the spell. It's like, and I don't know if that has anything to do with like how it was so addicting because you're just like trying to get through until the next Edward appearance.
It did feel like it did make Edward feel like a drug. Like
Yes.
I think that's part of it. Like when he was there, I was like, oh my god, oh my god.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely had that. There is something to say about the magic of that.
I think there was a lot about reading it in one sitting or 1 or 2 days or 3 days or whatever when we were younger that made the story better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's really supposed to be a fast read because it's only set in just a few months.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and Bella as a character, I think she does develop, but like, I think we see more of that at the end and after she's more comfortable around Edward because she calls him on his shit.
Yeah.
And she actually is like a person after, I don't know, the baseball scene or right before it, after she meets all of them. It's like she decides that that's where she's supposed to be and she just flourishes from there.
Yeah,
I
think I noticed that too this time where she is stubborn. I think that's a character trait that we can say that Bella has.
Yeah.
And I think she did like call Edward out in the beginning when he was being a douche, like talking to her, not talking to her. And she's like, what is it today?
Yeah.
You know? But then as soon as they actually start their romance, she just completely falls flat and she acts scared of him.
Well, in the baseball scene, it was like whenever they got there, something was said about her being mad or him being mad, and then she was like calling him out for that when they got there, and that was into the relationship a little ways.
Yeah.
And then like when they're escaping, her telling him, you know, that he has to take her home. You know, she brought up the plan. She was in control of that entire situation.
Uh-oh.
I think that a lot of times that we perceive her one way and then we actually read it, but then all of the social implication of the time whenever we were forming opinions about it comes, and then we're like, oh, she's just a silly little girl.
Yeah.
Because that's, you know, the social indoctrination that we have.
Well, it's just like she's mad that she can't be here as a Bella defender. But I have to say, I will defend Bella on some of her character traits because I think she has personality for sure. Some things about Bella does feel very genuinely teenager to me.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's kind of like she has like very pretentious, like, oh, I read classics in the garden. I cook for my dad. But I don't know, like I know so many people like that. I was a pretentious like kid, like reading, I think in high school I was reading like Romeo and Juliet and like the Odyssey. So like her reading like Mansfield Park and Wuthering Heights, I was like, yeah, okay, I was like that too. So I didn't blink an eye when I read that as a teenager, her reading that stuff. But there's a couple things that didn't really hit the teenage mark for me, especially like her like not caring at all about prom or the dance or anything like that. I was like, I don't know. Or like everybody having a crush on her, like that's just annoying. It was just so annoying. It's the trope that never dies. Like when I see it in books, I always think of Bella, the scene of everybody asking her to the dance. So bad.
Yeah.
I feel like she's just got like such like quick turn opinions on things sometimes, where it was like, oh yeah, my day sucked because of all these reasons, but also because the guy that made me feel uncomfortable just by looking at me like I killed his puppy is not there. If there was a dude that was a total dick to me in high school, I wouldn't be sad that they were gone. I'd be dancing in the aisle. And then the when she's explaining how beautiful and green Forks is, and she's saying these really nice words, and then she goes, but it's kind of alien and I don't like it. But it's like, if you
Yeah.
describe something like beautiful and it's like really nice, how can you say that you don't like it in the exact same 2 sentences?
I agree with you there, Crystal. I never understood how she like described like I love the heat, I love the sun, and then also describe her as being super pale.
Yeah.
Like I don't get it. Like you don't like love the sun and are super pale. I don't get it.
I can't tan, so I kind of understand at least that part. No matter how much time in the sun I spend.
Yeah, but then you just get red, right? Then wouldn't she be red?
Yeah, you get really, really red, and then it all flakes off, and you're white again.
Yeah, she can't just be porcelain white and love the sun. It doesn't work like that.
No, there was only a small stretch of time where you'd be red.
I do agree with what you were saying, Crystal, though, about like how, like when Edward is not there, she falls apart. And like when they're going to the Port Angeles, she's like so grumpy in her head that she's like, I need to cheer up and stop being so miserable, because she's just like falling down a dark hole in her mind. And it's just, the obsession was like really clear on this reread for me.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, main character syndrome. But I think part of the thing about Twilight where where it shines is that first person narrative voice where it does kind of let you sink into Bella. And I think a lot of people say, oh, that's why she's bland. She's supposed to be like where you paste yourself onto her.
Yeah.
But I never really pasted myself onto her. I disagree with so many of her opinions and her actions that I never.
I wonder
Cooked
how
dinner for
different
my
that is.
father.
Hmm?
I said cook dinner for my father as if.
I cooked that with my supper. I cooked supper
did
with my dad all the time.
I cooked for my parents, but it was like I didn't want to. Bella wants to do this stuff. No.
Yeah.
Are we saying anything that offensive to Wallace?
I don't know.
I feel like that was when I went off on how she hates everything. And
Oh yeah, Crystal is here as our resident Twilight.
I'm trying really, really hard to temper myself so I don't make people like Wallace angry.
Think of Bella whenever I marinate.
Yeah.
Like, I think of Bella every time I have mushroom ravioli.
Right. Like so many of these mundane little things are like core memories in my head now. Like Coke and ravioli.
Yep.
And potato. She made potatoes for Charlie the first night or something. Like yeah.
I probably think about Twilight much more than the average person. My household says tit soak all the time. This is kind of a killer. Yeah.
Wait, what is Hudson saying? I feel like it would have been better if it came out during the craze because the movies did make the craze slowly die.
That's fair.
Yeah. Yeah. I think some of it was the casting and marketing choices for the like the posters were really cringy. Like I was a hardcore Twilight fan, and when like the movie posters of like Edward,
Oh,
I was like, oh my god, no.
There was like an interview with Robert Pattinson where it was like, yeah, I kind of was highly medicated or whatever for his audition.
Oh my goodness.
And so he went in and tried to do it, but like fell short so hard to the point where his agent was like, you almost lost a job by that. Whatever that was, don't do it again.
Oh no.
I also want to stick a pin in this comment. Where Hudson says, I also don't think Edward loved her. He was just obsessed with her mind, and that turned into love.
Yeah.
I also would like to stick a pin in that. So we need to remember that it was about the angst. Yeah, that's a good point. People are allowed to not like forests. She's from the desert. She has a different aesthetic, guys. Stephenie said in an interview once that she purposely gave Bella no personality. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I never heard her say that.
See, I'm curious now, like what other books that were published in 2005 for teenagers, what were their protagonists like as far as if they were sketched out 3D characters or if they kind of had this same self-insertability? Or is there a reaction now from Bella where everyone's like, I have to make my main character really individual? because of
Yeah.
where we've
I
come from.
think maybe just because this was like the first book like that had like a very teenage singular character romance plot,
Yes.
where I think the other books like of the generation weren't as like romance heavy, weren't as like day-to-day school life, or like, hey, we're gonna save the town, or I don't know, save the cafe,
Yeah.
or make my dad and mom proud. I don't know. Like, and this was like, no, hot guy, I'm obsessed. And a vampire. I think adding that supernatural element is what the special sauce, which now it seems basic. Now it seems super basic, but at the time I think it was obviously. Speaking, do we want to do the vampire archetype or the romance plot next? Because Hudson started talking about the romance plot.
I mean,
We also have Crystal, resident vampire expert here.
yeah. Oh, go ahead, please.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
She's not good. It's just gonna be me being salty again because I get very crotchety about the whole vampire archetype in Twilight because the book is how old, and I still have to be careful what I write or what I say about vampires, or the first response out everyone's face is, "Oh, is it like Twilight?" And it makes me so frustrated.
Okay, we've opened this can of worms. We're going for it. Let's talk about the vampire, the use of the vampire archetype in this book. Come on, Stephenie, she took her own spin on him.
Yeah, she uses next to nothing. Next to nothing. They're immortal and they have to drink blood, but everybody's
Monologue it, Crystal. Come on.
Oh god.
Oh, I didn't mean to pull that one up.
They use the blood. Sunlight, it doesn't hurt them. It actually makes them shiny, depending on if you're watching the movie or reading the book.
That was a weird choice.
Oh,
It's the one choice I don't understand.
I love it because in my mind, I like to think of it as the sun hits their skin and it causes their cells to burst, but then they regenerate so fast that it's nothing. So it's just like plasma, shiny little plasma.
That would have been so much better.
like
I'm
sorry.
using that. I will ride that Twilight wave. I will make it some horror. It'll be great. He'll have sloppy skin. It'll be awesome.
Because I think the fact that they were sparkly was one of the reasons why I got so shitted on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
She could have made up. Go ahead. Sorry. She could have made up her entire race and it would have been fine. The fact that she put the V word attached to it, I feel like the way you dismember is like crunching stone.
Yeah, she does use stone like a lot as a reference or a comparison. Glass, yeah.
But there was rumors that originally she didn't write them as vampires and that they were fairies.
Really?
Yes. In my Twilight shitposting group, we talked about that one time.
Something that she's like talked about?
Like, yeah. That's what they were saying, at least in the comments and stuff, is that she had originally written them as fairies, but they were like, vampires are more in right now, so we're going to turn them into those. And that's why they sparkle and they still drink blood and they can't eat people food and they're really fast and strong and yeah. And it doesn't have to be human blood.
That would have been cool.
Right. So much better. Could you imagine Alice with wings?
Yeah.
That would have been cute because Alice would have been cute with wings.
Right.
Yeah, Alice has big fairy energy. I never heard that. I did not know that. But I think, I don't know about the vampire thing, to be honest. I feel like they don't really talk that much. It's not, other than the fact that he can't be out in the sun, it's more of like used as a tool to make Edwards feel like this evil monster, where you never really see him be evil. You never really see any of that on page. Like, he's always telling Bella, like, I'm a big scary monster. And she's like, but you're hot. So I've seen no proof of it, and you're hot. So
Except for the one time when he was giving her the tour through the house and told her about how, he took out serial killers.
well, she was way into it by that point.
Yeah.
But the point she walks into the colored house, she's
Yeah, but I think that's one of the parts that was like most like disturbing to me on reread was when they're in the car and he like just saved her from the alleyway in Port Angeles, and he's literally confessing of like thinking about murdering people.
Yeah.
And he's like, stop me from doing it. And she's like,
Okay.
How is this teenage girl supposed to stop a monster machine constipated man?
He was like meditating on murder in front of her.
And then like in the meadow, there's that other instance in the meadow whenever she's just like sitting there in awe of him and feeling bad for his suffering, and he's telling her about how he wanted to kill all these children.
Yes.
And I'm like, what?
It's like, that doesn't make him a vampire. That makes him a psychopathic creep.
Right.
Or just even the fact that they start over in new towns and like always them having to go to high school over and over again.
That is suffering. That's how
Why?
Edward suffered.
I don't get it.
And the another note, it's like the idea that because it says Carlisle is 20 to 30.
Mhm.
from
He's
Bella's
23.
Yeah, 23 from
He's 23.
from the mortal's perspective, and then his oldest adopted kid is 18, and they
That
had
doesn't track.
you start like if you're a vampire trying to blend into human community, you
wouldn't be a doctor at 23.
Yeah, I never understood this. Why did they pretend that they were all like adopted siblings, and then like they dated the other siblings like openly at school? Like this makes no sense. This would not fly at all in real life.
Yeah, just no. Like, extend the age gap, because I know people who are like 12 who look like they're 17, and vice versa. Like, you have obviously think humans are way like dumber than.
I think it would have been cool if like Carlisle put on like ugly disguise, like he like I don't know, like put on like I don't know something to look older, and then like when Bella sees him at the house, like and he's just like in his regular, like oh my god, you like look so young and pristine. But when he goes out into society, he has to like ugly it up a bit.
There is makeup for that sort of thing.
Yeah.
They use it in movies all the time.
Yeah, I think that would have been funnier.
My headcanon now is that Carlisle is just tired of every time he has to run an errand, the person at the place is like stunned by him, and so he wears a disguise because he's like, I just want to be a normal guy. I don't want to get scared.
He's like a walking Ken doll.
Yeah. I just want to go to the bank and not have the teller be like,
That's some true Carlisle energy, though.
yeah.
Do we have anything else to say about the vampire archetype?
I love that when Edward is telling Bella about Carlisle's origin story, which I need more of.
Yeah.
I love that Stephenie Meyer was like, what am I trying to say? She, like, the townspeople weren't, I like that she made them the monsters. Because it specified that, they weren't actually catching any monsters. That the people, like she explained history. Except there really were vampires in the sewer.
Yeah, I think those little moments of like backstory were actually interesting.
Yeah.
It added a little bit of depth to the story where there's not that much depth otherwise.
Yeah. See, now and I'm going to mention Midnight Sun again. Oh my God. Now, if you want more of that, you got to read Midnight Sun.
No, I'm just exiting off reading it. I'm really neglecting the comments here. It would have been cool if there was a bigger predator beyond vampires. Because the shinies could give off poisoned animal vibes. Oh, there's a theory. Yeah, I don't know. Twilight, we love her. She is deeply flawed, though.
It did hint later, though, at actual werewolves, not like the tribe's werewolves, but like I'm going off book, y'all. In Breaking Dawn, I did not recently read. Caius was upset about them chilling with werewolves, but Aro was like, "They're not. Can't you see?"
Oh yeah, because
So
yeah,
there is a greater.
they're more like
Uh,
shifters.
The guard took them out. All the werewolves. Yeah, that's the lore.
I haven't read that in a long time. I read Breaking Dawn once when it came out, and I was like,
Yep.
get away. I did not like it as a high schooler.
Not another dream. And honestly, I feel like Stephenie Meyer is one of the ones who like gave like getting novel ideas from a dream a bad rep. Like these days, you cannot say this because people would tear you to shreds.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A lot of things a bad rap.
she dreamt about a beautiful boy in a meadow, but it was a sex dream about Gerard Way from My Chemical Romance that inspired the.
Yo, if you can turn your weird sex dream into like a mega phenomenon
Right?
empire,
More power to you.
goals. Talk about girl bossing too close to the sun, Stephenie.
I mean, that's
Keep a notebook next to your desk, next to your bed.
we know that's what E.L. James did.
Yeah.
With Twilight, made a terrible book.
Yeah, those ladies they're cashing in on their crazy. Yes, the Mormonism. I don't know if we want to talk about the Mormonism or if we want to talk about the romance. There's so much to talk about.
No.
Why high school, not college?
I
Yeah.
think they did all go to college many times, but they just go back and forth.
Well, it
You can't go to
says
college for like so many years though, so it would make like much more sense just to be in college for a million years.
it said in Twilight, or Edward told Bella in Twilight, that Rosalie and Emmett sometimes live on their own, and then in the guide to Twilight, there's like backstory about Alice being some kind of genius, like I don't know, and Rosalie's like an aerospace engineer and can work on anything and fixes their cars, and like,
And yet they go to high school.
and yet they go to high school. Yeah, they go like they're all billionaires.
I will say, for as much as I nip at Twilight, Alice can do no wrong.
I mean, I don't know.
I don't know because Jasper's pretty fucking annoying. So
Jasper's a Confederate soldier who was happy
I
to
know.
be.
Like Alice is so good. Why is she with him? I don't get it.
Alice is from Mississippi. It's all I gotta say. I live down here. If
There's
you
slim
can
pickings
excuse
for
me.
vampire boyfriends. She'll
Ugh.
take what she
I
can
guess
get.
that's true.
What? Wallace's last comment. Has a lot of
You know
capital.
I'm way behind on the comments. But... I mean, Wallace, you have a StreamYard link. You're welcome to pop in anytime. What's that to say? I do know the Voltaire. Oh, Voltaire was supposed to be the Vatican, Rome. Yes, Catholic Church. Yeah, okay, then we'll hop into the religious talk. Because
never-
obviously there's a lot of religious themes going on in Twilight. Because
Can she pick one? Is the question.
yeah, it's a little bit religious whiplash.
Really is.
Very, as we know, the apple, the temptation, the forbidden fruit.
And how many times does she use the word angel?
Oh, damn, she uses angel a lot. A lot. I think maybe it was misspelled stalker a few times, but
Yeah. And another, whenever Edward was telling Bella about Carlisle's past, the painting of the Volturi, the only time any other religion other than Christianity is mentioned is then when the Volturi are referred to as godlike, like Greek gods, and to villainize them further.
Hmm.
Well, it was interesting reading that this morning.
and well, so much of like the Edward and his internal angsting I know is not part of this. I'm sure Midnight Sun is just that.
It's a lot of
But I know the rest of the series gets more into Edward and his internal angsting and the damnation of his soul.
Yeah, I remember again, I read these books very, very young, and whenever Edward was having these discussions with Bella about her soul, I'd be like, bro, who cares? Like, I did not grow up with religious background, so I was just like, what? Like, just didn't hold water with me as a reader.
Like, I don't care about my soul. I am horny. Like, what the fuck?
But like, as Carlisle, as their father figure, I mean, how could they not have this outlook? Because like Casey said, didn't they have sorry, my dog is big. Didn't they have a cross on their wall? Yes, it was Carlisle's father's hand-carved cross, and he left it there as a reminder that he's damned.
Yeah.
What?
Talk about putting like giant symbolism and like pointing it out. It was reminiscent of like reading like the Mockingjay zooming in on the pin. Like that Hunger Games discussion. What's that big cross on the wall, Edward?
Oh, that's just there to remind us that we're evil demons in our home where we should feel safe and peaceful.
I stand of a vampire owning their bullshit, and you're a vampire, own it, right? Not that way,
right?
Not that way.
Now Emmett owns being a vampire. He loves it. Like, it's wonderful. So they're not all like that, at least.
But so much of Stephenie Meyer's characters are so into the self persecution, and it's exhausting.
Yeah.
I wonder what was happening in her life, though, at that time, because it's really a reflection of her.
Yeah, it's like, are you okay? Do you need help?
Do you need to call someone?
Wasn't she like married with young kids when she had this weird sex dream? I think she was probably sexually frustrated.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe there was a lot of shame.
Went into this sort of fantasy about a situation where a very attractive person is into you.
Yeah.
And then Stephenie Meyer. She's drying her tears with $100 bills.
Yeah, that's right.
Just writing the same book over and over again.
Just a continuation of pedophilia from the get-go. That's all I can think the whole time I read the Twilight. I'm like, he refers to all these other people as children, like Jacob, her classmates, and I'm like, what about Bella? I'm like, you can't have it both ways. Either he was eternally changed at 17 and hasn't changed any at all, or he's a 117-year-old vampire and this is a child. Yeah. Which way is it? You can't have it both ways.
And it tries really hard to have it.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. I think she really doubles down on the religious themes as you go into the series, especially because I don't think they touch on it in book 1 that Edward is a virgin.
Yeah. Oh, they do. Yeah, he says it. He straight up tells her.
I thought he just said that he was never like in love like that. I didn't know if they.
No, they like to have a whole discussion, and he was like, "I don't know if you've ever," and she was like, "No, I've never felt that way," and he was like, "Oh my." Yeah, God.
I thought it was more about feelings. I didn't know it was a physical thing. I don't know.
Yeah, he had never.
I don't know. That's.
Yeah,
I cannot with that.
That's how some people like to think Renesmee was brought into creation, is because his jizz was just forever there, never released into the wild.
It's really gross.
Yeah,
it's really gross.
Oh my God. The hell?
My Twilight group is off the walls.
Casey gets me. IDS culture. The general culture highly emphasizes that we are only in this world, not of it, and our goal is to return with God in heaven.
I mean, that's kind of the whole umbrella of Christianity, isn't it? To believe that, you're here until you're not, and then you're there, and the goal is to get there.
Yeah.
I just think a lot of people read this book thinking, oh, this is a sexy vampire book, and got a lot of like big religious themes put in there that they didn't want.
Yes, yeah.
Just give
Which
me the
is
weird vampire romance and leave all that stuff, please.
Which is funny because there is no sexy vampire aside from Bella constantly going, "Oh, look, pretty."
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's a lot of pining. It's just a lot of like, oh, this want, and I think, that's like what's popular in sitcoms: the will, they, won't they, the wanting and the longing. And I think Twilight really has that. Like even how Anna said before, it's like waiting till Edward's on page again, waiting for those moments. So it builds up something.
That has like a lot to do with like virginity culture and stuff too, because that buildup and like portraying the male like that is just like she's so
Yes.
focused on him, you know.
Yeah.
I think there is something very realistic about the fact that Bella is very, oh, I don't care about guys, I don't care about the school dance, but her internal monologue, she is obsessed with Edward.
Yes.
This hit really, oh yeah, that's exactly what it's like to be a teenager.
Yeah.
Like that felt really genuine YA teenage vibes to me. Like as somebody who like writes YA, like I hate when I'm reading a book and I'm like, this ain't how teenagers do it. Like,
Yeah, like you remember when you were like 13 and your crush said like a sentence to you, and you focused on that sentence for months.
Yes.
Like that, Bella had those vibes.
Yeah, I think maybe that's part of why the book was so successful, because it hit on that very real teenage emotion of having a crush and first love and obsession that never really got the focal point before.
Yeah.
That was during the time that I first dated my now husband. And I can remember we dated for a year without actually speaking to each other when we were kids. And like him just walking me to class and holding my hand was like that level of obsession. But we were like 12, like at least at that point.
I don't know, because kind of I marked the comment earlier, didn't I? Was it from Hudson saying that it didn't feel like romance? And Katie had said that she feels like the romance is what made it special compared to the things coming out around the same time. And I know Hudson said that she felt like Edward wasn't in love with her. And this is kind of what I felt like on the reread. I don't know. I haven't read Midnight Sun, so I can't say, but it felt like he was maybe new because of that weird blood smelling connection, that was like an important person to her, the fact that her mind was blocked. But I never got the vibe that he liked her until it was like, oh yeah, she's confessing feelings to me, I should probably
say the same thing,
reciprocate.
That kind of is exactly what Midnight Sun, how it went. I think you can tell me if I'm wrong, Nikki, but like she kind of starts out just being like, why can't I freaking hear her mind? Like what is up with her? And he just kind of has this like mad, like, oh, she sucks kind of feeling about her, and then it kind of like morphs into interest into whatever.
Only after his family tells him what he's feeling.
Yeah.
Okay.
He had to be told.
So my gut feeling wasn't off, that he didn't really have any romantic feelings for her until she brought that into the equation.
Yeah.
Because when I read this as a teenager, every time Bella was like giving like her feelings, like, well, I don't know, like I kind of like you. I was like, obviously he likes you. He's watching you sleep. He's like following you everywhere. Like, of course he likes you. But then reading it as an adult, I was like, I don't know. He never really is giving any romantic vibes off. So I kind of understand her in what's the word I'm looking for here?
I think
insecurity.
At the point where he's watching her sleep, he does know at that point that he cares for her. It's not love yet, but he has figured out that what he's feeling for her is affection. Because
Wallace is going off.
Yeah, I see that. Well, I feel like when he saves her and stuff, it's just like fascinating. It's like, oh, this is the only chick I can't hear. If she dies, then the mystery's over for me.
It was really.
I thought it was more about the blood.
Can I spoil it?
No, do not spoil. No.
Okay.
You see the spoilers banner, Nikki? Does it say spoilers Midnight Sun?
No.
The book came out in 2005. I'm still invested.
You definitely have to read it.
I know. I wasn't going to read it. I had no intentions of reading it. I go back and forth. I'm so hot and cold.
It was
In the
it was
first
a
couple
slog.
chapters of rereading Twilight, I was like, I'm not reading Midnight Sun. And like midway into it, I was like, I must know what Edward is thinking.
I have read Twilight like 3 times since I read Midnight Sun since it came out, and I can't read it the same way because Midnight Sun is just so much better. It's the book we deserve the first time.
Oh wow.
Dang, I feel like I'm on the opposite side.
Oh no!
I feel like Midnight Sun made me. It was like the nail in the coffin of me liking Edward as a romantic lead.
Yeah.
But I can like it was a much more interesting, like you kind of get into the like logic of ethics, like the ethics of him loving her, and so there's a lot of philosophy in it, which is interesting.
And everyone else through him. I don't know. I'm just
I
like that mind reading thing.
Yeah, that was really good. But it's funny because like they'll have a conversation in like biology, and it's like they'll say like 4 lines of dialogue. In Midnight Sun, that's 5 pages. Because you get Edward like breaking down everything.
600 pages of a lot.
Well, I'm gonna keep the Twilight channel open on Discord. I will keep you updated.
Nice.
if I ever get there. And I just wanted to address this. Yes, Twilight was kind of the sexy vampire book. I know Katie's quite a bit younger than I am, but it definitely had that reputation. Like I said, my mom was reading this. Like
hot.
my mom's friends were reading it. It was
the 50 Shades of Grey of 2005.
Yeah,
it really was.
Phenomenon.
There were makeout scenes that, you know, this was before like Akamath and stuff, you know, like this was like on page, like multiple paragraphs.
Those scenes in Eclipse, like when I would read those over and over again. Like there's a reason Eclipse was my favorite.
Oh my god.
What? Oh, did I read this one? What? It was so obvious he was into her.
Oh, this is the comment that made me want to spoil things.
Yep. Yep.
Read it as a teenager. I thought it was what?
Yeah, agree, Hudson.
Oh, while this is going off. He's in love with her. I don't know. I wasn't picking it up as love. But again, I haven't read Midnight Sun.
I think if you're going off of like Twilight alone, it is questionable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Teenage Violet believed it just because his interest in her, and like I read that interest as obviously if a guy's that into you, he's into you. But like as an adult, I'm like, why is this 103-year-old guy into this teenage girl?
I think the meadow scene is where Edward really decides that he actually loves her and genuinely loves her. Like he would never hurt her because like that's the whole point of him taking her there and like showing her who he is.
Yeah,
I think it's that shift happens.
There.
Yeah,
you slowly see him start to warm up to the idea. Twilight is a very good example of gothic romance. Like Edward is absolutely a Byronic hero. If it's his tortured soul that makes it hard for him think he can be in love with her because he's damned.
That's a good point.
I'm skipping Wallace's Midnight Sun comment because I don't want to know it. Yes, very good example of gothic romance. I think Stephenie didn't know Byronic heroes are problematic. Romantic? Yes. Sexy? It was sexy. It was super sexy. I'm sorry. It was super
at
sexy.
The time it was.
Teenage me would say yes.
I'm trying to think of like anything else that was even remotely at the spice level of Twilight. Like
it stood so far apart, and that's why we read it so many times. Because, like, when did City of Bones come out? That's the only other one I remember being a little bit spicy.
I want to say 2012 or 2011.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I never read it, but it's on my nostalgia radar. Yeah, I can't think of anything else that was spicy around that time. So I know some people were like stealing their mom's romance books, but I was not.
That makes
Yeah, Katie's giving the same idea, having romance books.
sense.
I feel like it was the first popular with the feminine gaze. Yes, very much so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where I have to like give a little bit of props because the feminine gaze is just there and so strong. And like that conversation that we mentioned where they're like, have you ever done it? No, it's Bella saying, you're hot. I want to do that with you eventually. Okay. And he has to say like, I would
I'll kill you.
But she kind of like leads into that and is very plain about it.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting.
Yeah, Bella does have good like character moments. I will say that.
Begrudgingly.
Still.
I'm trying to be nice.
No, say what you think.
Oh, I didn't mean to skip your
It's surrounded by
comment.
bullshit.
Oh, City Bone came out in 2007? I was way off. Where's Casey's comment? Apparently I skipped it.
Yeah, you got it.
Oh, I didn't key in on how 50 Shades could have ever been a fanfic of Twilight.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. Oh, she posted it again. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I thought it was super spicy when I read it as a kid. I was a teen. A kid.
He just grabs her a little too rough sometimes.
I will ask the question. Did anyone else who was reading it like in the moment that it was a thing, the first read, did anyone start looking for white Volvos? Because I had a few friends that anytime they would see the white or the silver Volvo, that they'd be like, oh, I had one friend who was absolutely obsessed. So I had to see if it was more than just her, if she was nuts.
That's kind of cute.
We didn't have our licenses at the time, so.
I know. I think it definitely brought like a whole generation of girls who cared nothing about cards, getting them into cards.
Yeah. I had to laugh though. A friend of mine actually had that car that she describes in the movie, and there was a girl who was into him because he had that car.
Oh my god!
Oh my god! Yeah, this movie had reach.
Oh, that's nice. That's main character life.
Main character syndrome.
Main character life. Yeah, Bella. She was.
Yeah, exactly.
Many times, like that was not a one-time occurrence in Twilight. Bella could just not contain herself many times.
I don't really blame her. Like, she was a teenager. Edward was hot. I don't know. That's just how teens are.
And their weird pheromone thing.
Yeah, it was weird. I want to talk about the creepy age gap.
Ooh, let's do it.
All right.
Because it was the thing other than the Quileute controversy, it was the thing I was most nervous about going into this reread. Because I am so sensitive to the idea of like predators, grooming, all that kind of stuff. So I was like on high alert coming into this, like, oh no. But I think because reading it, I was like feeling that Edward wasn't like romantically interested in her at first. That was me kind of giving him the benefit of the doubt. Because it didn't seem like he was coming at her in a pervy way. She's definitely the one who brought all that into the relationship.
That is one thing, at least in that dynamic, that Stephenie Meyer got right, is Bella is the instigator of the romance.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But still, I couldn't help hardcore judging Edward a lot on the situation in general. Like, for him, he's 103 years old. Time is nothing to him. He could have, fucked off for a couple years and like came back when she was a little bit older, let her go to college. Like,
yeah, like if honestly, it's like if Twilight was set in like college-y, young adult to adult,
like it should have been.
It would have we wouldn't be talking about it because consenting adults are consenting adults. But she's in what grade at the start of the book?
She's 17 at the start of the book.
Yeah.
All of Twilight takes place in like a year and a half span, like from Twilight to Breaking Dawn.
Yeah, no.
That's a lot of trauma. So much.
For us and her.
But that goes back to Stephenie Meyer claiming that in her Twilight world, the age gap is fine because he was frozen at the age of 17 in his transformation as a vampire. Although, like I said, he does keep referring to all these people as children.
Yeah.
So she has it both ways, but like you can't have it both ways. I'm an adult.
I know.
now.
I was thinking about that too. He definitely would have some sort of, emotional stunting, and he is physically 17 years old, which brings the creep factor down a little bit. His body is still a teenager,
And in his mind, he is still like a teenage boy. Like he is developmentally frozen. Yeah. Well, in her world. Because
he doesn't act like a 17-year-old.
Right? But he was a 17-year-old of his time. 17-year-olds didn't act like 17-year-olds do now back in.
Yeah, they acted like 30-year-olds.
Yeah.
If you were 17 back in that era, you were closer to 30 and 40.
Yes.
Technically.
They would have been getting married.
Yeah.
I think it also it also says a lot when you think about a character who has like all the time in the world at their disposal, and they're kind of like taking the life of someone who has limited time
But giving them,
but just being like, I don't care what happens to your life. I mean, he does, but yeah, like her lifespan could be so insignificant to him.
yeah.
I don't know, but I think it's weird to reflect on because it's very strange to think about as an adult. But as a teenager reading it, you're like, that's one of the things that is interesting about him, is that he comes from a different era. He's not like guys that are at school today. I remember thinking about him as like a well-mannered, polite person, but I don't think he comes across that way now when I reread it. But he just like that old-fashionedness was like one of his like draws.
Yeah. It's cultured.
Yeah.
What is Wall saying? Here's my big thing about the age gaps in these kind of stories. The authors say these men are centuries old, but they write them like they're teenagers. So there's a disconnect between what's on paper. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And what's in reality. For
feel
sure.
like if he had the emotional maturity of like 100 years, he would have been like, you keep your life and your time.
Yeah.
I agree with
Oh, sorry.
Katie's last comment. I
gotta catch up. I
didn't see that she had that one too.
What did she say? I know. I gotta catch up. I don't know. Edward kind of reads like a 17-year-old at parts. So then wouldn't it have been Bella being predatory towards a 17-year-old?
Oh God, it's such a mess.
It is.
I think if these men were written like old men, it would be weird.
Yeah.
But they aren't, so it isn't. Yeah. I know like vampirism or there's other sort of tricks in YA to age down your characters and make it acceptable that you can still get away with today. But I'm definitely side-eyeing it. And I remember people saying that at the time, oh, he's like a creepy old man.
Yeah.
And as a teenager, I was like, no, like, who cares? Like,
Yeah.
oh, I did not care.
I think it's intentionally so vague, kind of like Nikki was saying, like the book is trying to have it both ways. And so you like don't know how to feel as a reader because you're like, has he, you know how they say your brain stops aging when you reach 25 or something?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's up with his brain?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we claim that him and Bella have the same emotional maturity, or like it's like a nature versus nurture thing? Like the experience of 100 years, would that make up for the fact that your brain is still a little squishy? I don't know.
Yeah.
Squishy brain. True Blood came out at the same time, has a very similar romance plot, including the virginity thing, but Sookie was 25. Yeah. Definitely takes on the creep factor when you age up the character a bit.
Yeah.
But who knows if they were originally written that way? Because like it kind of feels like when you're reading it that they were supposed to be in college, but that somebody down the line of editing and agenting was like, nah, it's got to be younger because we need them to relate.
Which we've seen
people.
that. We've seen that in the industry.
Yeah.
Where it's like, this doesn't work. Change their age either up or down, or this will not sell.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I heard about that with Iron Widow. I just read, and the author was talking about how they originally wrote it as a much steamier, like probably new adult, I think they would have called it. But their agent was like, "Yeah, this is gonna be YA. You need to tone it way down." And I'm like, I kind of wish that version existed in the world.
Me too. Yeah,
as
all the
like a
time.
new adult book. I wish new adult was its own thing, but this is a different topic for.
I think it's gonna. I think the breaking point is coming that it's going to have to be a thing eventually.
Mm-hmm.
I think Hudson is hitting on a good point here with the Y2K virginity obsession, because it was definitely a thing, and I think purity culture and all that was.
It ramped up so much around that time.
Yeah, you can't. I feel like teenagers today cannot understand what it was like. The idea of.
They gave me a coupon for a Domino's pizza in exchange for my virginity vow.
Yeah, like it was crazy. It was
next to the 4-H booth.
Well, talking about the religious stuff in here, like it was just a very cultural thing back then.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know like about you guys, but like when I was in like middle school and high school, a lot of the education was around virginity culture and abstinence culture toward girls, where that was the only option, and the fact that the books that people wrote kind of went along that train was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think it's. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, even about how Bella was saying that she was interested in being physical with Edward, I feel like is a big step to say at the time, because I know like girls in my school, if they were talking about stuff like that, they would be labeled a whore. Like it's just how it was.
Yeah. I think there's been so much deconstruction of this whole like purity culture. I think in part because of Twilight, because everyone was like, this is bonkers.
Really, it was bonkers.
Yeah.
I tend to like age gap romances. These days, I'm like, they have to be consenting adults, yes, or at least emotionally mature enough to understand consent.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I couldn't agree more.
I don't think Twilight didn't understand consent though. Like in the dynamic of Bella and Edward, I think that Edward's character understood consent a lot.
Yeah.
But like in an overbearing way.
Yeah, I went like too far the other direction.
Yeah.
I won't let you consent to this.
Yeah.
Edward is like, we're not doing the physical stuff. It's not morally right, but all the emotional manipulation.
Yeah, that's fine.
Let's add a little extra.
Yep. Well, it's like Katie's comment kind of like that was one thing that drove me nuts too.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I so agree.
It's like,
well, it always pissed me off that he didn't want to change her when she wanted it. When she wanted it, she asked to become immortal, and he denies her that. It always made me angry.
That's like the whole book's plot from beginning to the final book.
And that's like the whole bodily autonomy choice thing is like, you do not get to have this choice.
Yeah.
Because you do not you don't understand what that means.
And your soul.
Yeah.
Bring up the arms again.
That
totally goes back to how
the soul stuff so thick when she was like, hey, I made up my mind. He's like, I'm the protector of your soul and you don't know what's best.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put my soul on pause right now. My body is ready.
That whole concept is like a can of worms that
that really goes back to that purity culture of, women don't know what they need and want, and they shouldn't know what they need sexually, like for anything.
Yeah.
It's deep down here. It's real bad.
Oops, wrong comment. Did it skip? No, I'm here. Edward was the closest we'd ever get from Mr. Darcy.
Yeah.
This is hitting on something. Yeah.
That was that same year, wasn't it? 2005, Pride and Prejudice, the movie came out.
Oh my god, it was. Is this my whole personality?
Right, 2005.
Is this a core memory? Oh god, Hudson, I feel like you're my therapist. What's going on? I agree, Katie. I think Bella was mature, minus a few kinks sorry, I took kinks the wrong way there. And then again, she probably doesn't actually know what she's asking for. Oh, she definitely doesn't know what she's asking for. But she does read realistic teenager. So I hate when people bash on Bella for being bland. It's like, no, that's how teenage girls act. They're horny, they're impulsive, they're obsessive, they're angsty.
Teenagers, man.
Yeah, that's what they gotta love them, gotta hate them.
They scare the living shit out of me.
I know. There's certain days, time of day, I don't go outside because the teenagers are out. I'm like, And honestly, if they do remain 17 and don't have the function of an adult, it seems irresponsible for Carlisle to turn less than 25-year-olds.
So interesting.
23.
Yeah,
I've never thought of this, and I love it.
yeah. Because like I get, you turned Esme, fine, whatever. You took pity on Rosalie, fine, whatever. Adult. The fact that Edward is dying of the Spanish flu, and he's like, "Oh, poor baby, let me turn you." Like, that is probably the most irresponsible vampire decisions, and that's why Carlisle would probably get killed by almost every other vampire in Vampireverse ever.
They really paint Carlisle like a saint, but he's not.
I read somewhere, probably in my shitposting group, that Edward's mother asked Carlisle to change him, knew what he was in her final moments, and asked him to save him.
I've heard this before.
Yeah, so I don't think it was quite as selfish as we think, or as we're led to believe. I mean, he was like super lonely. And I think he was upset that the Volturi, kept trying to make him drink blood and had, come to the new world to find people like himself or create someone to mold into himself. Talk about grooming right there.
Yeah.
Yikes.
I like this comment that Bella was really obsessed about getting physically older than Edward, which I found it cringy when I read it in high school, and I found it even more cringy reading it now. Like, who cares? Like, if you're a year or two older physically.
Yeah. I mean, shit. Like, me and my husband are 9 years apart. I didn't understand that.
Right?
Then or now. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
They're already 118 years apart or 130.
Yeah.
Like, what? Honestly, what was the thing? Like, is there a thing like that a guy is supposed to be older than a girl? Like,
Yes.
what?
So
I
yes.
think she just wanted to be frozen exactly as he was by the time he changed her, so that
I
there
think
would be
she
no
was scared of
difference.
being older than him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, physically, like, but a year or two?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know.
I mean, I grew up with that concept here where it was like being older than a guy was kind of gross and it was robbing the cradle. But if it was the reverse where the guy was older, it was totally cool unless it was like over 5 years and then he's just a creepy old man trying to get a hot young bride. I heard that a lot when I was
Double
dating my
standard is
husband.
killing me all. What the? Yeah, it bothered me. I know they go more into it later in the series of Bella like having this crisis that she gets older than Edward, but it's so stupid. That's okay. Again, she's a teenager and she has these ideas of things that are important that aren't important at all. But I always say that's one thing I like about writing about teenagers. Like, they'll take little things and think that they're crazy.
Mm-hmm.
The melodrama. I remember asking for a purity ring in middle school, not understanding what they were, and my parents were like, "No."
Them some good parents.
Yeah.
Wallace had a purity ring in middle school. No surprise there. One day I was sitting at the table with all the Christian kids, and my purity just fell from my finger. Everyone thought it was an omen from the devil. Oh, I love that. That was the best story.
Oh.
Yeah, I have like the weirdest. I had a promise ring when I was dating hubby, but it was like, this is a gift promising I'm going to come. Like I will get there someday. And I tried to explain that to people, and they thought it was the purity ring, promise I'm going to bone you ring. And I didn't understand that was a thing, obviously.
I thought a promise ring was an engagement ring.
Yeah, sometimes it is. Sometimes it is a promise. I think there's a difference between a promise ring and a purity
Oh,
ring.
yeah, for sure.
Oh, my family thought it was the exact same thing. And it was... Oh.
Well, usually your boyfriend doesn't buy you the purity ring, your father does.
Oh,
What?
Yes,
Oh,
at least
gross.
here, that's how it's done.
God, miss me with it. Oh my God.
It's like a big deal in some families. Like I knew people who like went like a whole lunch date with their dad, and then they went and picked out the ring and like.
Oh my god, no, this is creeping me out, y'all.
Seatbelt for your finger. Oh.
The exact opposite of Charlie energy.
We all needed to be more careful. Careful of what? Oh.
I feel like it has to do with Edward being mentally 17 as she grew older and might drift away. I also thought it was Bella freaking out about that she was getting closer to death. Oh yeah, that was part of it.
Yes, yeah,
That's
she was
how I
very
feel.
worried about the death thing.
She's way too worried, girl. Oh, Bella.
I mean, at the end, whenever she's writing him that letter that she leaves with Alice at the airport, she is literally only worried about leaving him.
What am I getting tomatoes for?
I think purity ring,
Just the
father.
Oh yeah. Okay. So when it takes me forever to get to the comments, I was like, what was this for? I'm trying to be fast. I got on the phone with my mom, and now I'm 10 minutes behind.
I don't think I want to know.
That's a whole thing. Like I knew the people that did that too. They used to buy a different dress every year to go to the ball that they had their virginity.
Oof.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, I remember people hiding it, like still going to pretend that they still had their virginity.
Oh, the whole concept of virginity is so stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I know. I talk about that in like my YA book that I'm writing right now. Just that the concept of virginity alone.
Mm-hmm.
So I find it really ridiculous. Like modern day thinking about it is. Here's the funny thing. I purchased my purity ring myself. My dad thought it was weird.
Oh.
Other kids in my school were Christian, and I wanted to fit in.
So did these all look the same?
No.
Or you just pick a ring and you're like, that's my purity ring.
Yeah. It's just a promise on a jewel. It's very pagan too. Like for a Christian thing, it's really pagan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Minus the virginity part. Nobody cares about that. But making a promise on a jewel like that? What?
That's true.
Okay, we're getting to the end of our discussion topics here. I just have the basic one that I have for every book top. Theme, symbols, and motifs.
Purity culture.
Just the whole theme.
Well, I feel like they really used the forbidden fruit and the apple on the cover, but it wasn't heavy-handed in the text itself.
Yeah. And there
No.
was also... Oh, go ahead.
I think the apple, like the only reference that I connect with it is Bella and Edward, like him not being able to read her thoughts. Like he can't.
Yeah.
He can't get that knowledge.
I mean, the cover is iconic. Like I have to
Mhm.
say, it's iconic.
Yeah. I think it's a symbol for just temptation
Yeah.
on all the levels as well.
And these youngins didn't think it was a spicy book. It's got a temptation right on the tempt. Oh, that black sleek cover with the red. Oh.
It also definitely had the parents don't get it. Like the parents are the worst, which goes back to the comment that was made earlier. Bella's mom being absolutely like the worst in terms of, momageness.
Oh my gosh, Renee.
I wish that had even been more, like, if we really wanted to make Bella like 3D, like more of her moving on from this like relationship with her mom and trying to figure out who she is as a person away from her mom, not being a support person.
Yeah.
What do I like to do?
But instead, she just goes and parents her dad.
Yeah.
I totally agree. As an adult reader, I was like, let's dig into that dynamic. But it just seemed like Renee was just the point of like having like Bella, oh, she's independent and sassy, and her mom's, not an issue. She's a teen off doing her own thing. She doesn't have a parent there, like, covering.
Yeah.
And they were using the emails like text messages where it was like, if you do not get back to me in 5 minutes, like email.
On dial-up? Really?
It's so dated.
Who checks their email anymore?
Oh my god,
Like,
I didn't even talk about the khaki skirt yet.
Oh, the khaki.
I remembered it all those years later, like Twilight, that khaki skirt, and now reading it. She put on the khaki skirt to go meet the Cullens. That's what
Yes.
it was.
And after that, khaki was in style for quite some time.
Yeah, but
And
they
those-
described
and
it as
the hoop
a long khaki skirt. Like,
Yeah,
what?
That does not sound like a comfortable skirt material.
right? Stiff.
Yeah.
It just sounds like a very ugly item of clothing that wasn't. It's like Stephenie Meyer, your Mormon is showing nobody wears long khaki skirts. Like nobody, especially not teenagers.
The only long skirts I remember wearing in high school were the ones where if you swished your waist, it would just go whoosh, 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 whoosh. Like the
Not
really
in
flowy, wishy
style.
ones.
But I have to say, when you're an adult writing YA, I had the same problem where when I was rereading my draft for my edits, I wrote like skinny jeans. I was like, oh, skinny jeans aren't actually in style anymore. I got to take that out. So I just put tight jeans because that's not referencing where they're tight. I felt like that was a more evergreen description. But I don't know. I think about that when I'm writing, like, if you're dating things. Sometimes you want it to be dated at the moment, but not. I think the movie did that better with the styling. Because some of her clothing descriptions, or like, what does she describe Edward wearing when they're at the restaurant? Like a white turtleneck.
Yep. The cream shirt or whatever.
He's so beautiful. He looks like a supermodel.
Oh, the worst thing about the khaki skirt is like when she wears it, it comes out, and she's like, "I think this is appropriate." She's in Edward's reaction, like, "That is really not appropriate," or something.
Utterly indecent.
Utterly indecent. Yeah, that was it. I was like, "What was the line?" I should have written down. I was like, "Oh my god!" I was like laughing so hard and gagging. It was the worst.
Yeah.
Oh,
Games,
that reminds me of whenever Jessica and Bella and Angela go to Port Angeles and they're trying on, or they're going there, and like Bella's in a bad mood at first, but then she's like the high of estrogen or whatever, and I was like, what? We're getting high off estrogen now. I need some of that.
There's some really cringy, like internalized misogyny in here.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
for sure.
Oh,
For
100%.
Yeah. As
Yeah,
if that's just the most wonderful thing in the world.
Bella's got that, not like other girls. They put her so much against Jessica as Jessica being the other girl. Jessica
And
is the
Lauren.
other girl. He is the annoying high schooler
Yeah.
who's boy obsessed and cares about the dance. And how dare she?
Yeah, like justice for Jessica, honestly, because what was her crime? Wanting to be Bella's friend,
Yeah.
wanting to gossip with her about boys. Like, girl, she just got to the new town. She has no friends, and like, justice for Jessica.
Like, honestly,
Yeah.
her friends
I know, right,
are
Lynn? I
actually
know.
decent people.
Yeah,
And she just hates on them because she can.
Yeah. And like she didn't want to go on the trip because Lauren was going.
Yep.
And Lauren ices her out because the dude asked her to prom, Tyler.
Yep.
Oh
and
my
it's
god,
like,
I can't get into the epilogue. Oh my god, I cannot.
starts call and like refers to Mike, or it is Mike, yeah, as her golden retriever friend.
Yeah.
Like, she's so hateful toward the only people who are actually nice to her and
Yeah.
are not manipulating her.
Although,
They do treat Mike like a golden retriever, though, as a character.
yeah, to be fair, all these dudes were acting like that. Were written
Oh,
that
it's
way. Like, why can't a girl just have some dude friends?
Yeah, that should be allowed. I don't know about you guys, but I had like two friends that were the same gender, and I had like 3 friends that were all guys. None of us wanted to bone each other.
Yeah.
We all just sat around at lunch playing Magic the Gathering. I mean,
Right?
man.
Sneaking out back to smoke cigarettes, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know where I left off in the comments. Although the not like other girls and tomboyishness really kind of fits the mommy issues vibe Bella has.
Yeah.
That's true. Because she really hates on Renee.
Justifiably, Renee is a terrible mother.
But I mean, isn't
I'm
it
gonna
so
pick a great
hypocritical?
one of her
Like,
kids.
she's mad like at Renee
No
for like, you know, getting this younger guy, but like then her situation is that
I don't think that Bella, I never saw that Bella was mad at her for dating a younger guy. I think that Bella was more mad that she was the parent and that Renee just completely neglected her. Like, even
doesn't it feel like she's kind of mad at her mom for like putting her relationship above her? I felt like that.
Oh yeah.
well, I think that feeds into like Renee's never put Bella up front ever.
Yeah.
Like, she left Charlie when his parents were literally dying. Like, they died a month after she left.
Oh my God.
And he was all, why can't you just wait? And she was like, no, I have to leave. And then like they can't have pets because Renee didn't want to take care of a goldfish.
Yeah.
How did she get custody of Bella in the first place?
Exactly. Well, Charlie didn't fight for her. He just let her go.
Charlie, I feel, because like that was the only thing that I felt relatable toward Bella, because I was also the parent to my mother.
Yeah.
So I got it. I felt so bad for Charlie. He deserved full custody of Bella because he's a sweetheart.
Yeah. Yeah.
Chief Swan.
But he had so much going on. Like, I couldn't imagine taking care of both your parents with dementia and having a kid all by your own, like being a single parent.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's
But
a-
then, like, even Bella's bedroom before she moved to Forks was like the size of a closet. Like, in something I read, it said that she could put her hands on either side of the room and touch the walls. And then Renee put like her crafting supplies in there too, or her yoga equipment or something. Like, she's just a terrible mother.
Oh my God.
I will die on this hill.
I'm with you.
Well, there's a theory kind of about Renee that's in Midnight Sun that I found really interesting. Like there at the end when Edward meets her at the hospital.
Yes.
And he kind of gets an inkling that like Renee has this aura where she can kind of get people to let her bulldoze them a little bit. And he thinks if she was a vampire, her power would be manipulation and just kind of like going through life, like dancing through life. And so she kind of has like, not that humans have supernatural abilities, but like she kind of has a thing going on. But yeah, sad.
Yeah. Yeah, Charlie, he's a good guy.
Yep.
Is there any other themes, symbols, motifs? We actually didn't talk about any of them. We just got completely sidetracked.
I mean, there were technically themes because they were, elements used in the story. Stretch.
Okay, Hudson is saying, I feel like Renee was a symbol of what a non-religious parent is.
From the view of non-religious parents are bad.
Well,
yeah, from Stephenie Meyer. Yeah.
Wasn't Charlie? We don't know anything about Charlie in that way.
Yeah,
right?
I don't think so.
I think it's mentioned that the river fishing was his church or something like that.
Oh, you're right. I do think they may have said
Yeah,
that.
because he went and did that on Sundays.
Yeah.
I think I remember that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, normally I write down a list of things that I see as symbols or motifs. I do feel like I wanted to bring this discussion up in the Discord channel about the title Twilight, where I feel like it is like that, crisp, strong one-word title, which I'm forever envious of books that can have that. But do we feel like it's the right title for the book? And the couple times, I caught it 4 times while reading in the text. And I think 2 of them were in the epilogue. It felt like they were really shoehorned in there.
I think you can make an argument. I think when did they break it down? Well, I think Edward like defines it at one point because in case we didn't get it.
Yeah.
Like, the space in between day and night, and they're walking down this fine line where it's like I could kill you, but I won't. So we're kind of, I don't know, walking in this gray area.
Yeah, and then like the first time he says that they're in the car and he's just driven her home from somewhere and they're sitting there and it's twilight and he's like telling her about, you know, how it's the end of the day and the darkness comes and he hates the darkness and like
That conversation made me just want to like
yeah. It's that
God.
whole white versus black
And Bella
viewpoint of
literally
things.
says, but we wouldn't see the stars. Was
Yeah.
that right? And you're like,
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, yeah. So I really should stop looking at the comments because I just saw Wallace's comment reminding about the good job Jake moment. And yeah, I forgot. Charlie is not without
Yeah.
not without problems.
that's true.
Not to mention, like, he completely dismisses his friend about his concerns and, like, that dynamic between a police officer and an indigenous man and him just completely dismissing his safety concerns is, like, a whole nother level of, ugh.
Yeah, there was also a couple moments where, okay, he's not a saint.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody's awful.
Stephenie Meyer just can't write a character that don't have no flaws.
I feel like I feel bad for Charlie. I don't think he's a great dad,
Yeah.
clearly, but I'd feel bad for him when Bella hurts him and
Yeah.
leaves him out of her life.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he just kind of like sits there and kind of just takes it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she said that's how her mom lived.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, when
And
Bella
he
went
didn't
to
fight
that
for her,
hotel.
you know? He
Yeah.
never fought for her.
that's true. Yeah.
Why would he later?
Well, I know I did not read Midnight Sun, but I read the Gender Bent Life and Death, and those were the only 2 characters they did not gender bend. Is they kept Renee and they kept Charlie.
I actually haven't read that, which is surprising.
Yeah, and
Yeah, right.
and I saw in the interview Stephenie Meyer said I could not, like, Charlie had to stay Charlie and Renee had to stay Renee, regardless. You know, if I changed the gender of everybody else.
Why?
Honestly, it changes the story a lot switching the gender just because of some of the things we've talked about you know misogyny and this idea of virginity culture and stuff around women and men, and it changed the story a lot when you switched the dynamic.
That's so interesting to me.
I'll have to read it.
I don't know if I would recommend it. I wish they
Oh,
didn't change
no.
all the Cullens though, because it got super confusing because they changed all the names. So it's like I could understand changing Edward to Edith, but then they changed all of them, and I'm like, who's who? Which one's supposed to be Rosalie again?
I think if I read it, I would try to read it as a different book, as not those characters.
Yeah, that's what I had to do too. I just had to forget about it because I just kept getting confused trying to translate it.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me rephrase. I think she wrote Charlie as a good person. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, for sure. Oh my gosh. Stephenie Meyer thought Charlie was the angel of the book.
Yeah.
The long-suffering dad.
Yeah.
Police chief. I mean, he's moral. He's the police chief, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a good comment though. Like I feel like even though Charlie's character is pretty flat, it's one of the first books I can remember where the parents were characters and had a backstory and had relationships with each other and with their children and friends and jobs and
And Charlie felt like a real character. He had moments where he really felt like a real dad,
Yeah.
Didn't know where he could speak up or where to, sit back. He felt like,
At least
awkwardness.
the way that fatherness is in our society.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like, you really should be more involved.
Because I know I've read some YA books where the parents are almost like, I am just a, PSA of, good ethics and morals, and I'm always there for you, son.
Oh, no, kid.
Yep. Don't forget your curfew. breaks curfew.
Yeah, really. There's so many parents in books that if they're there, that's what they're like. But most of the time, YA parents, they're not there. They're dead.
Yep.
They dead. Oh, goodness. Why do I not know how to do comments? Yeah, Renee running off is definitely a subversion of the absent dad trope. Except she still gets to raise the kid because...
Yep.
And gender bending, that would reverse that subversion.
Mm-hmm.
In Christianity, it goes God, dad, husband, and then everyone else. That's why she couldn't change Charlie and Renee. Also, to go back, I love the titles of the books. I think it fit perfectly and now reflected on the journey Bella was going through. Yeah, I think New Moon was the perfect title for book 2. That love it.
Wolfers.
Yeah, it has the wolf reference. It has the idea of like, you know, the new moon is when it's like black, complete darkness.
Yep.
So
Depression book.
Oh, yeah.
depression book, wolf book.
But like, wouldn't you be if you had just discovered a whole new world of vampires and you wanted to be part of it, and then you had all the trauma of James and Victoria chasing you, and you thought your mother was dead, and then you almost die, and then you wake up and you're not dead, you're not a vampire, and your boyfriend wants to leave you, and
That's
then
trauma.
yeah,
We felt it when we read and turned those blank pages for the first time.
yeah.
I will never forget.
I will openly admit, even though I was big into it in high school, especially reading Twilight over and over and over again, it came out when I was at a very shit time, to the point where it actually made my shit time valid, but also worse, to the point where I was never able to read past New Moon ever again. I've only ever read the other 3 once.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure I've only read Breaking Dawn once because I don't want to reread that again ever again.
No.
I don't want to relive that. But while Nikki was talking about James and Victoria, it reminded me I have this banner for plots and pacing, which does the external plot show up before the baseball game?
It doesn't even get good until the meadow scene.
Was it even like foreshadowed? I feel like they like Alice says like, oh, there's like other vampires in the neighborhood, but it's never something we as a reader felt like as a big threat, and all of a sudden it's like, the plot is starting.
The first time that it mentioned or that it foreshadowed other vampires was like him telling her that, you know, Alice does have visions, but sometimes she sees vampires coming. And then that's like I think that was in the meadow scene. And then in the baseball field, when she actually sees them, was the next time that it even mentioned it.
I feel like part of it was foreshadowed all the way in her little the narrate. If you put it in the movie, the part where she was narrating it, I never thought I'd know how to like learn how to die, or like whatever that whole monologue is.
Oh, side note, if you watch the movies in order of 4, 2, 3, 1, 5, I think it is, that monologue, it changes from her dying in the place of her mother to Renesmee.
Creepy.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like it's a flashback. Like, or you watch Breaking Dawn Part 1, she dies at the end, and then you watch the first movie, so that monologue is like it continues the flashback at the end of movie 4, so that Twilight, New Moon, and Eclipse are all flashbacks.
It's making my brain hurt.
Yeah.
She opens her eyes in the 5th one.
That gives me some very, I guess you're wondering how I got like this vibes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
It is so fun to watch it that way too. Or maybe you watch New Moon first. I don't know. I'll have to look it up. I'll get back to you.
Look it up and put it in the Discord. Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
Yeah. Let me check my Notion.
But how do you guys feel actually about the plot and the pacing? Because like I said, on the reread, the beginning felt really slow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Until the meadow. I was bored, falling asleep, gonna pull out the pages if I had a physical book.
Yep. I've talked about off live how much my struggle was struggle to the point where I had to be convinced to read the audiobook because it was the first 30 pages where I'd read a couple paragraphs and I'd have to stop because it's just it's weak. It's weak, it's rough, and it made me angry.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of goes like back to what Anna said earlier. It's like, what does Bella want? Like,
Yeah.
it felt like we're going, but what's towards what goal?
Yeah.
Yeah. She robs herself of her own agency.
Yeah. I think
The movie order is New Moon, Breaking Dawn Part 1, Twilight, Eclipse, and then Breaking Dawn Part 2.
Whoa, starting with New Moon.
Yeah, it's intense.
But yeah, I agree. I think if I didn't have the like nostalgia factor, which is so huge because of me being 12 when I read it and it taking place in the early 2000s, like if that all was not the case, like could I get through the first 100 pages? I don't know.
Right?
And
I totally would have DNF'd if this was a book that I was just picking up today.
It kind of makes me judge the adults who were reading it back then a little more.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm like, how did you even think this was smut? How did you find this sexy as an adult? Like, I get teenage me, and I don't know. Adult me sees the spiciness, but like, I'm not as into it as I was when I was a kid. At all.
Trying to find out what page they have their first kiss on. Because like, could a book get away with that nowadays? Like a slow burn to this degree?
I don't know. It was pretty far in.
But Bella, she makes her feelings clear, like in her internal monologue, very early.
Yes,
that's
so.
True.
I think the unrequitedness at the beginning fills.
It's not quite a slow burn because she's already there on like chapter 4 or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. I'm neglecting the comments. I don't even have them up. Where did I leave off here? Twilight was the stagnation of her life, and then the shift from day and human to night and vampire. New Moon was the depression, eclipse, and the darkness covering the sun, and then the sun came back. Yeah.
It was page 282.
Wow.
Oh. Yeah, the pacing. I feel like the pacing was weird.
It was... No.
Yeah, I mean, I like the title Twilight. Like I said, I'm actually quite jealous to find a word that's like slightly unique, still has the symbolism, and just a crisp one-word title. I'll be forever jealous of books that have it. Oh wait, Casey has a question. Do you think you would have a power if you were a vampire? If so, what would it be?
I don't know.
I think I would just be the klutziest menace of a vampire because I am just like, that's like my main personality trait in real life. I'm just a menace. I can mess up anything. And if your strongest trait comes with you in this world, that's it. I would just be like a reckless hurricane.
How would stubbornness be a power? Because I feel like that's my most predominant trait.
I feel like I have a goldfish memory. Like my working memory is like 2 seconds. So I feel like maybe my power would be I could erase people's working memory. Be like, I'll just take that out of your head. You put something down? No, you didn't.
That's a good one.
I like that.
Where's your charger? I don't know.
That's a funny
I
power.
like that. That's awesome.
I feel like I've kind of talked about this question similarly with like Encanto. I think maybe I would have something kind of like what Jasper has, or maybe I just envy that power.
Yeah,
It's
I think
cool.
I think I would be more toward Jasper because I'm always the people. Let me help you. You feel better. Got you.
But also feeling everyone's feelings.
Yeah. It's like the most awful power, I think.
Honestly, this message from Hudson, when I finished Twilight, my like frenzy to get my hands on New Moon was like,
Ooh.
it was strong.
See, mine is to start reading Midnight Sun. Yeah, I'm like, I gotta do it. It's time.
Nope.
This was also like the longest it's ever taken me to read Twilight. I don't know if I said that already, but it's blown my mind.
Well, I picked Twilight up like a few years ago, like 2016 maybe, when I was home in Minnesota going through my stuff, and I found my old busted up paperback, like the one Anna had, and I found it, and I was like, oh, my old friend, I'm just gonna look, and I sat on like the floor, like in the storage area, and read up until the baseball scene, like just,
Oh wow.
and then I got to the baseball scene, I'm like, oh, the plot's starting, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm just here for the angsty vampire bit. I'm done now.
To go back to Katie's comment, I think that's an awesome idea. Like if the Cullens had been working on trying to take this tracker out of the
Yes.
area this whole time and been like, Forks is actually under threat and no one knows
Yeah.
except for us.
Like they did with Seattle in Eclipse.
Yes. Yeah.
I was thinking this too, that it needed some sort of foreshadowing
Mhm.
other than just like, oh, Alice had a vision.
And then at least
Like
Bella
Twilight
maybe
was
could
slapped
like
together.
have some stake in it and be like, well, I want to protect the people in the town. So,
Yeah,
you know,
it
maybe.
could have been a stronger tying together a subplot and the romance plot, which it wasn't even like, yeah, because it was so one-sided and weirdly paced, the romance plot.
I have a strange theory.
Yes.
What if originally Twilight and New Moon were one book?
Intriguing.
Because like the tracker and James kind of felt a little random / sub bossy, and then so it's like if it was one book, you would have her being into Edward, and then losing Edward, and then having to save Edward, and that puts the entire through line about her relationship with Edward, where it's like in Twilight, as of right now, correct me if I'm wrong, is I have now moved to Forks. My life is miserable. Oh, hot guy. Random bad guy shows up.
Yes.
Wow, that's the best
Hot
summary
guy.
I've ever heard. Just
Yeah.
moved to work as a hot guy.
And her obsession with the whole immortality, because like it's hot guy, but it's also, oh shit, I could be a vampire.
Which in itself is cool.
Yeah,
But I
that's
feel
my-
like she only wants to be a vampire because he's a vampire.
I don't think so. I think Bella wants to be a vampire because Bella wants to be a vampire.
Yeah,
I
and
think
her
she
life
feels
as a
like
human
she-
sucks.
She doesn't belong in her body,
Yeah.
her
Yeah.
life.
And there's theory about Bella having ability and Charlie and Renee possibly having ability.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
And
no,
that her in somewhere in her bloodline she was related to some form of hybrid, and that it's in her DNA, and that's why she wants it so bad. It's a fan theory, I'm pretty sure. I got too much in here. Too much knowledge.
Like you come in
It
with the
bleeds
detour.
together.
Fair.
The pacing was terrible. It totally didn't start until the baseball scene. That is one thing I will say the movies did better. Yeah, because I think if you want a heavy romance plot, it's not a satisfying romance plot. Like the romance arc is not satisfying, and the like external B plot with the vampires is also not satisfying because it comes in so late. The first kiss was just weird. Yeah. It was weird and dangerous.
No.
I am not. Like I said, I might read Midnight Sun, but I do not want to go through.
Nope. For my own mental health, I'm not doing it.
I'll probably end up just reading Midnight Sun. But I also know myself, and after reading it, I'll probably jump to New Moon.
Just because it's kind of like when people talk about like rewatching Game of Thrones, because you know where it's going, it ruins the
Yeah.
whole thing.
Yeah. Like, do you really want to put yourself through that just to get to the part where the ending is just... See, what you do is you stop at a point where this feels like this could be a good stop, and that is your canon arc.
When she's a vampire.
No, stop at those blank pages.
Stop at the right
The end. And he
Yes.
never came back.
I became
Yes.
depressed. The end.
I think I might read Eclipse again because I feel like that's when the most is going on, like as far as A plot, B plot, right?
Oh, okay, now you make it because Eclipse was my favorite, which makes me want to reread it.
Yeah, and I
I
don't think
could
I
do without
reread
new
it
mood.
as often as the first two. So now I'm like, ooh, am I falling back down the hole again?
Step away from the edge.
We love Anna's power.
I'm just passing on my undiagnosed ADHD to everyone else.
I'd like to think it would be projecting my imagination. Sorry, onto others.
Nope.
It wouldn't be physically tangible, but visually. Ooh,
That'd be cool.
that would also be a wicked power. Mm-hmm. I think I would I would want to be like I can't pronounce this. Zafrina, and her ability to create vivid illusions. As a visual person, I think it might be that, or maybe it's just wishful thinking.
I mean, I kind of
Cool.
like that because, like, you can't explain, you can't articulate what something looks like. Just be like, okay, fine, just here, have it.
I think it would be a great power for Katie. We all know the power of her mood boards.
Yep, 100%.
Originally, it was just going to be 2 books, just Twilight and Breaking Dawn, and then there wasn't going to be a love triangle. But Jacob was always going to imprint on Baby Renesmee. Oh my god,
That's
just fine.
fascinating. So basically, everything in the middle was added in. I feel like that kind of makes a bit of sense how weird some of it feels.
I just got a gross feeling in my mouth, like about Renesmee.
Yep.
Just not talking about weird age gap things again.
Yeah. That was
Yeah, the Volturi introduces a main villain. Like they do name drop them in the first book. They give you a little hint, but
Just enough to know that Carlisle didn't want to live with him anymore.
apparently for some reason, it's fine. Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
That is true. That is true, but you have to devote the whole day.
But that's the thing. I think it goes more back to what Anna said. It's like, oh, I have to get through this because I know like this huge chunk is coming, or like
Yeah.
I'm waiting for it. Like
Waiting so long for him to open up and say something like more than 2 sentences.
yeah, it's almost more like a whiplashy pacing, but like you're on for the ride.
Yeah,
So
it's like a spike and then a spike and then
yeah, but you're not getting off the roller coaster because you're chasing the high. I don't know.
yeah.
You just want to know what happens. You want to get to the good part.
There's arguments to be made, I guess. But also, such a mood to want to be out of your imperfect body and to be rebirthed as a perfect creation, especially as a chronically ill person.
Yeah, I think that Bella like really touches on that because she like literally is so embarrassed of her clumsiness, which is not a disability the way that they joke that it is. But she's so self-conscious of how she can't compare with her human body to Edward that she's just like, how can I even be on level playing ground with you?
And in Stephenie Meyer's world, when you are changed, your body becomes how it was meant to be.
Yeah.
So even if you were like a trans person, I would think that in that world, you would become that person physically.
I love that idea.
I don't know, because I feel that like that makes sense to me, but like I think of like how insecure I was as a teenager, and like me like as an adult, more body mind connection as I was as a teenager. It's like you just need to grow into like accepting yourself. Like I don't know, I like that messaging better than
fix it.
like I don't know. I can understand as a teenager like wanting to like be beautified, but
I wanted the physical perfect body. That's when I was diagnosed with lupus. So I was like, oh my gosh, immortality and my body wouldn't be terrible and trash. Like, wow. Give me that.
I think in the later books, like this becomes more of a theme because Bella's like, I want to have power the way that everyone else around me does. And I'm tired of like being diminished. And that's part of why she wants it so bad, is to be in this family. I feel like I want to contribute the same way that you do. And I feel
And
like that gets a little deeper.
And to step into who she thinks she should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I talk a lot about this, like when I discuss writing YA, that I always want my teenage characters to have physical insecurities, because who doesn't, especially as a teenager?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just for me, like I don't know, something very heavy, because like I've said before, like I don't know how you guys feel, but like hating yourself as a teenager, like really just hating yourself. And I just always kind of want that, like, it gets better. You have to just.
That's valid.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just it's a tough one. Oh, where am I? Yes, and that's why Edward taking away that choice from her makes me so mad.
Yeah.
Because he's taking away her
Yes.
autonomy to her, and to be denied being healed when I give anything for that makes me angry.
Yes, especially at that time. Oh my gosh, I would have given absolutely anything. I would have absolutely become a fucking vampire.
Oh, 100%. Like, I think that's what got me into vampires to begin with, is that self-hate, and like, I want to be different. I feel like I'm not me. I would love to be this character, and to kind of like, put that into the idea of being a vampire, because if you're an immortal, nothing can stop you.
Yeah.
So you can actually be as powerful as you want to be instead of being less than.
I think
no pain.
you're right.
Like,
Vampirism like adds a different step to the wish fulfillment. Like, yes, hot guy who loves you, like completely. But yeah, the wish fulfillment of also being a powerful, attractive, having all the time in the world to learn and study and devote to your hobbies and better yourself.
Yeah.
Is just as appealing as the hot guy.
Yeah.
Not being, like, forget the hot guy part, not being in pain, being like, making your own choices for your body, your identity, your everything, to like, people who found themselves outsiders. Like, that was
and to be kind of go above societal rules in a lot of ways, like how the Cullens live. They don't need any sort of societal. Yeah, they don't need any of that. Wait. Or is that what you think your true self should be? My head hurts because this getting too deep.
Yeah. This reminds me of the freaking video that the thing that I did today is I was talking about a lot about self-hate and, being the outsider in your own reality, and shit. This is getting a bit too much over here.
When we go in those literary analyses, we go to the real literature, the meaning of the books. Yes, Nikki, same. I was in the height of my migraines and pain when I read Twilight. I actually always, talking about my own migraines, think about vampirism, because like my eyes are so sensitive to light.
Yeah.
So I'm always like closing my drapes in the dark, like I can't go into the lights.
That's how I was all week last week.
I didn't really explain this earlier, but with Mormonism, the idea is that we are in imperfect bodies, and then resurrection gives us a renewed and perfect body. It just goes back to religion.
That is
another good parallel.
Baptism as well. Like that is just a genuine basic foundation of Christianity, is that we are born imperfect, and we are only perfect once we have achieved heaven.
And like, there's some people that even use that to sit there and justify people who have chronic pain in their life. Is like, well, you're suffering now, but if you'll get there eventually.
Yes, I was in a church at the time when I was, reading Twilight, getting my lupus diagnosis, getting a depression diagnosis, and all these things that were considered sins just for me existing. Like, the church literally thought they could pray away medical conditions. And it's just wild.
On that note.
Sorry, guys.
On that note, let's discuss how, in my opinion, Twilight is the foundation of modern day YA. I don't know if you guys feel the same.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, once again, I'm like I kind of am curious to go back and see what else was published like in the year 2005, for example, and just see like what was the state of YA, if it even existed.
Emo.
I mean, it definitely existed as a term, but I think the things that were considered YA at that time today would be considered like upper middle grade. Like,
Yes.
and I mean, today YA has gone so far the other direction where it's
Mhm.
where we need a new adult category that just we haven't been given. But I feel like so many of the tropes and norms that Twilight had like really became like touchstones for the category, like the first person point of view character, the love triangle, the like all there's so many, or even like how we talked about this not like other girls, everybody having a crush on Bella. And now it seems very cliched because we've seen it time and time again, but
the guy who's talented at everything and not bad at anything.
Yeah. But she calls him on it. You know, it's an annoyance to her.
Yeah.
oh, is that tough? Yeah. Oh. It is just funny. Like we said, like reading it today, like there's so many things that just wouldn't fly doing publishing today. Especially like I said, those first chapters being so boring. Can you imagine like sending that like out in your query? Like, here's my sample chapters.
Oh my.
I feel like if it got through to being a book, I don't think it would have made it into a movie because I feel like they would have tried to cancel Twilight way sooner because of some of the stuff that was in the books. Except for now, like with what happened was like they waited till after the movie came out, aside from the book burners and stuff like that, to really be like, nah, get away from this. It wasn't till the movies came out where the real canceling of Twilight really started to happen.
That's the same for Harry Potter too, though. I can remember like when the movies started coming out. Artemis, honey. When they started coming out, that's whenever the satanic panic here was happening about them, and it's just wild. Like you didn't even know it existed while it was a book. Like leave us alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, there is something to say how we brought up earlier, like it got a lot of people into reading.
Yes.
And our very own Stieg.
Yep.
I don't know. I was already reading a lot, so but I think I like a lot of other people hopped right from Harry Potter to this.
Yeah.
I mean, I had like Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants and like Cirque du Freak and a couple things in between, but
yep.
Yeah.
I think I read Cirque du Freak before Harry Potter. I was late. I was late to the Harry Potter trend.
Oh, Casey's saying Uglies came out.
Yes.
I did not read Uglies, but it has been on my nostalgia train radar of popular nostalgic reads.
I enjoyed that series.
I'm very curious to like compare of like YA books that came out in 2005. Like what's the age of the protagonist? Like kind of like Violet was saying, like are they all kind of lower or upper middle grade, or like was Bella kind of a standout in that she was 17? And also what's the spice level of 2005?
Again, I think the paranormal factor brought so much into it, whereas I think there was probably some like more hard-hitting contemporary or hard-hitting. I don't know. But you know what I mean? There was some contemporary stuff out there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. She's definitely a phenomenon. I feel like of all the books we've covered, this one had the most nostalgia for me other than Cirque du Freak, but had the biggest cultural impact too. Yeah. It's a book that everybody knows, like when you say the name Twilight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like when we did Warrior Cats last month, not everybody knew what Warrior Cats was.
Yeah.
It's hard to compare them, but she's definitely a big one. Casey's saying Percy Jackson, which is our next month pick.
Hey.
I forgot about that. I'm going to have to read that.
Thank you, Casey, for this seamless segue. Looking for Alaska. Yeah, okay. That's
I feel old.
It's on my list of books I missed when they came out.
Percy Jackson?
Yep.
My papa got me into that one.
Well, next month we'll be reading Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. This book is too holographic for its own good.
That's actually getting my eyes.
Sorry.
That's okay. Great. Thanks.
That was like a perfect segue to.
That was glorious.
Do we have any final thoughts on Twilight and our reread?
I will admit, I was part of the pile of people that it was cool to hate on Twilight. High school, I went from loving it to it was cool to hate it to even as an adult being frustrated with elements. It's just frustration and it's not hate.
Yeah, well, there's a lot to be frustrated about, especially looking at a modern lens. Like, all the other weird, creepy stuff aside, just talking about the use of the Quileute tribe.
Yeah. I think the love I have for it now, which if anyone else feels similarly, I feel like you can hold this love unabashedly, and you should, and don't apologize for it. I think the love I have for it is that experience of picking a book up and reading until 4 a.m. and just completely falling into it. And I'm still, as an adult, like chasing that reading experience in other books.
Yeah.
And just like chasing that reading high.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hoping like if I could ever write a book where someone, just one person, like read it like that in a furious frenzy, that would be amazing.
I'll quote Robert Pattinson as of lately and say it's so 2010 to hate on Twilight.
Yeah. I read that article. I'm like, fair. I mean, I would want to tell everyone that has read it, hadn't read it, whatever. You like it, you don't like it, your fun is not wrong.
Yeah.
It's okay to love something even though someone hates it.
Yeah.
And if you hate it and if you love it, either way, you're investing that energy into Twilight and it's out there in the world.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. I think there's also a thing that you don't have to like it, but you almost do have to give credit where credit's due, that it was groundbreaking.
Yeah, you got to respect respect what it did.
Yeah, Twilight walked so that like the books today can.
I think it's been so many conversations about like relationships between young people.
Yeah.
So many different aspects of it, as far as like healthy relationships,
Yes,
sexual relationship, your communication style, like your values, all these things. I think Twilight, so many people like talk about Twilight being like their feminist light bulb, where they kind of, for whatever reason, started having conversations about these themes because of Twilight.
Yeah. Communication is key.
And we're not all mind readers, right?
Nope. That would be an exhausting power to have, okay?
Oh my god, I know, right?
No wonder he's such a tight ass.
Casey lowered her Goodreads rating on the read through, but the nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Like with what Anna said, like chasing that high. Like people who talk about like book boyfriends or loving books, like there was something to Twilight, and you can't take away that sort of nostalgia feeling, even if you can call out that she's got some problems.
Yeah.
The sexual tension.
Agree. Oh.
But as we've seen today, though, it has quite a bit of literary merit. Look at all the things we had to analyze here.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, not to be like a Sarah J. Maas hater, but like on a line level, Stephenie can write much better than some other people that are huge today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do have to say the prose, I didn't put that as one of the topics, the kind of prose and writing style, but I didn't hate it.
Not at all. Yeah.
Only a few phrase choices.
Yeah. And the describe my appearance in the mirror cliche was.
Yeah.
Most of my issues are character focused, not so much in the actual writing of it all.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some lines in this that are so cringe, but there's some lines in this that are just little gems.
Yeah.
There's some little gems in there. Both would be great. On that note, we will be reading Sarah J. Maas in May.
Be the first Sarah J. Maas book I've ever read.
Throne of Glass. So it was highly voted in my forum. I put it out to the people, and the people wanted it, apparently, because it was the second most voted book in the entire forum that I did.
Oh.
Aww. It's an omen. Y'all. Okay, well, I think, do we want to introduce ourselves?
Sure.
Bye, everybody. I'm Crystal. My channel is Crystal's Cluster, where I make a clusterfuck of content ranging from gameplay, writing vlogs, and all that kind of stuff, and D&D storytime videos sometime at some point. I'm writing a paranormal action fantasy novel that's currently in betas at the moment. Be getting back to revision soon. And this has been fun and very interesting.
I am Nikki, and you can find me, Nikki Klimmer, just about anywhere. And yeah, it's been a blast.
I'm Anna Robbins. I'm currently rewriting my first fantasy novel. Hopefully my next vlog will be me finishing it. No promises on when it will be posted. But this was great.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us, Violet.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, everybody. And also thank you, Katie and Wallace, even though you couldn't be on screen with us, and everybody in chat who participated. It was a lovely discussion, and it was really fun. So if anybody's interested in reading Percy Jackson with us next month, I should have the Discord link and Instagram link in the description of this. If not, it's in my channel description as well. So March is Percy Jackson. We'll be taking April off for Camp NaNoWriMo. We will be back in May with Throne of Glass. In June will be Inkheart. July is off for Camp NaNoWriMo again. And then August is the Raven Boys. So that is the nostalgia train schedule coming up for the next several months. And this concludes Twilight. So thank you, everybody. And yeah. Wait, where's the button?
Oh no!
Stand well back from the platform edge.